She likes chocolate covered strawberries and wine. She likes notes that say I love you all the time. Roses at your feet, baby girl be mine. Baby girl be mine.
Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to another LOSV Life of Steph Vlogs. So today I am sitting outside of BJ's. I'm about to go in, but before I do that, I wanted to come to you guys with a story time. So if y'all hear cars or whatever around, that's because I'm in the parking lot and I have my windows down too. Let's jump right into the story time. First of all, I want to give my Patreons a shout out. Everybody that is a member of my Patreon, I just want to say shout out to you. Thank you for your support. Also, I went on Patreon and I asked what video should I come out with next. So I gave them the option to pick which video, and I'm going to be doing that a lot. So I'm going to be getting a lot of feedback from my Patreon members about just what I should do with my channel, which direction I should go in, which video should come out first, if I have a series of videos I want to put out. You know, I'm going to just get a lot of feedback from them to help out with my channel. So with that being said, I want to go ahead and jump right into this story time. So this story time is about my biological father. I can't even call him a father. Sperm donor. Sperm donor. That's what we'll call him. My biological sperm donor. Let's get into this story. It's kind of long. I'm going to try to take my time and tell this story and not leave anything out because it's a lot of parts to it. It's a lot of different parts that come together to make the whole story. So what I will start off saying is growing up, I never knew who my father was. But what was crazy is that I knew his sister. I knew one of his two of his sisters. No. Take that back. I knew three of his sisters and one of his brothers. Now, out of the three sisters that I knew, one of them was like my mom's best friend. She grew up with her, went to school with her, and they was always together. Is my aunt. I'm not going to say who their names, but I'm just going to put it this way. So my aunt that my mom was like best friends with, they grew up together. They lived next door to each other growing up. I guess that's how my mom met my sperm donor. And went to high school together. And then my aunt moved out of town to a whole nother state, far away. And she comes back often to our hometown to visit. And every time she came back, she made it her point to see me, see my mom, and things of that nature. So, with my uncle that I knew, so he always lived like right around the corner from where I grew up at and where I lived at growing up. And I always was over his house. Like, I remember my mom always used to go over there and kick it with them. And I used to see my cousins. I know they had a daughter and a couple of sons. And I used to, be cool with them. And, so I knew my aunts and uncle and some of my cousins. And, it was crazy. And then also I have a memory of when I was 3. I held on to this memory because I was 3 years old when I first met my oldest sister. So she made it a point, like she found out about me and she made it a point to come and see me, and she has been in my life ever since. And so with that being said, I met all these people in my father's family, but I never met him. And so, let's get into it. So, when I was growing up, I remember being probably about 7, 8, maybe 8 or 9 years old. I asked my mom, like, Mom, where is my dad at? Like, I see all these people with dads. Like, my friends have their dads. My cousins have dads. I have uncles that's in their kids' lives. I'm like, where's my dad? Who is my dad? Where is he at? And she was just like, oh, you want to talk to your dad? She was like, okay. She pulled out the phone and she called him up. And soon as she called him, his wife jumps on the phone. And his wife start going crazy on my mom, like, that's not his daughter, stop calling here, we don't want nothing to do with you, and all of that. And I remember this like it was yesterday. Like, I closed my eyes, I could see we were sitting on our steps, like leading to the upstairs in the house, and I still remember it like it was like summertime outside. I had on shorts. Like, I remember this vividly. And the lady just on the phone going off, we don't want nothing to do with you, stop calling here, that's not his child, da 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 this, da 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 that, girl. So I was like, okay. And my mom was like, you know, she didn't want me to hear that, but I heard that. She didn't expect the lady to just get on the phone and go crazy. So with that being said, my mom was like, I'm trying. She kept telling me, I'm trying to, you know, let you see him and know who he is, but this is what happens every time I call. So, you know, I just gave up. It was just a lost cause. I gave up. I didn't care. I didn't think about it. Then, as I got older, I started hearing the stories of how, I heard how, basically, how he was with my mother. You know, they used to live next door to each other. It was my grandma's house, and then it was the house that my biological father and his siblings was raised in. And they lived together lived next door to each other for years. Like, my grandmother, like, my family still owns the house my grandma lived in, like, and their family lived in that house for many years. So, come to find out, when my mom was with him, he was with this other lady. And my mom got pregnant with me, and the lady got pregnant at the same time. So I was born first. And then 2 months later, I have a sister that was born. And so my biological father ended up marrying the girl that he had the other child with and leaving my mom. So that was that story. So I guess the girl just never liked my mom. You know how that is. You know, that type of drama. So it was like that. And so, my mom did. She always kept, like, made sure I knew my uncles. And, like, they wanted to know me. And she never denied them from having a relationship with me. So she made sure that they was able to see me. And I knew who they was. They knew who I was. And, you know, it was like that growing up. And so, and like I said, my oldest sister from him, that's not her mother. The lady that he married is not her mother. She has a different mother. But she always made it a point to be in my life from the time I was 3. So, moving along. I am now 17 years old. And another part of this story comes into play is, I grew up going to church. My family church was literally right around the corner from my grandmother's house. And we lived with my grandmother on and off. And then, like, when my mom got her own place, we lived literally around the corner from my grandmother's house, not too far away. So, on the corner, my grandmother lived 3 doors down from the corner. I have to tell y'all these details, I'm sorry. So, my grandmother lived 3 doors down from the corner. And on the corner, it was this house that belonged to I'm not going to say his name. I'm going to just say Mr. J. It was this old man. He was probably the same age as my grandmother. His name was Mr. J. And he lived on the corner. Like, literally, my whole life, it seemed like. I never knew nobody else to live there but him. And he also went to the same church as my family. So, everybody knew Mr. J because he lived right next to my grandmother and he went to our church. So, I'm 17 at this point. You know, Mr. J was still living there. They old. My grandmother was old. You know, she was always old. My grandma was old growing up and she was old, you know. So, I'm 17 now and Mr. J passes away. Let me tell y'all about Mr. J. Like I told y'all, he went to my church my whole life as a child and, you know, coming up as a teen. Went to the church. My family knew him. Everybody knew Mr. J. He even used to come over to my grandma's house and sit at her table. She used to drink her little tea And, you know, they would sit there and talk and, you know, just neighborhood friends, right? And so, come to find out, when Mr. J dies, my mom asked me, are you going to go to the funeral? And I'm like, no, because I don't really do funerals unless I absolutely have to, you know? And I'm like, no, why would I go to the funeral? And she like, because that is your grandfather. Listen, y'all. I'm like, what? She like, yes, that's your father's dad. And I'm like, what? And she like, yeah, that's your father's dad. So if you want to go to the funeral, you know, I think maybe you should go. That's your grandfather. And it's bringing tears to my eyes right now, because I'm like, how the heck? I even asked my mom, I'm like, I literally grew up with this man. My grandfather from my mother's father died back in, what is that? He died when I was really young. And I was really close to my grandfather. And he was in a nursing home, and we used to walk to the nursing home as kids, like a group of us kids, my cousins. We used to walk to the nursing home, and we used to literally just sit in his room and talk to him and play around in his room. We was kids, and we just did it. And so my grandfather died at a young age, at me being a young age. So I hadn't had a grandfather from what I knew. And so when she told me that this man was my grandfather, after I'm 17 years old at this point, that hurt me so bad, because I'm like, I could have had a relationship with him. I could have freaking, like, he was in my face my whole childhood, like going to church, coming over to my grandma's house, like seeing him in the neighborhood, just seeing him sit on the porch. And I'm walking down the street, and, you know, all the people on the porch and everybody just in the neighborhood. And I'm like, and I never knew this man was my grandfather. And she was like, well, I thought you knew. How was I supposed to know? I'm like, no one told me. I never seen him with any of my other, like, aunts on that side, or I never knew. Like, I had no freaking clue. So I'm just like, I'm just hurt. I'm just shocked. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'll go to the funeral. I'm like, okay, I might not go to the funeral. I'll go after the funeral, you know, like the repast or whatever. I was just so freaking just hurt, because I was mad. I was kind of mad at my mom, because I'm like, I don't believe that you just really did not tell me this. Like, I just don't even understand how you wouldn't tell me this. And she was like, I honestly thought you knew. And I'm like, I don't know how you would think I knew. I just never knew. So it was just so mind-blowing to me. So I went to the church, and I went straight to the basement, where it was like people was gathered around in the basement of the church. And, you know, I seen the aunt that I did know, the uncle that I did know, you know. And then after that, everybody decided to go to the uncle that I did know. Because I guess my biological father has a lot of siblings. I only know, like I said, I only know 3. So my uncle, I'm gonna call him Uncle M. So my Uncle M decided that he wanted to have, you know, family at his house after everything. So later on the day, we went to my Uncle M's house, and we, you know, everybody was just sitting around talking, catching up. And my aunt was there from out of town, and I think I was with my sister. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure, but I think I was with my sister, my oldest sister. And so we was all talking, and my biological dad was not there, but he came up. And when he came up in the conversation, I told my aunt, like, yeah, I never met him. And she was like, what? And she just had no idea that I never met my biological father. And she was just like, how can you not have met him? Like, what? And I'm like, yeah, he never wanted to meet me. I'm like, when I was little, my mom tried to call him, and, you know, his wife tried to go off on my mom. So, you know, we just gave up. And she was like, oh, no. I'ma fix this. So she calls him and set up this meeting for me and him to meet. So we ended up going to my sister's house when we set up the meeting. So I went over to my sister's house, and he came over to my sister's house to meet me there. And I was nervous. I was scared. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know I just didn't know how it was going to go. I didn't even know what the man looked like, okay? I just didn't know. So yeah, we get to my sister's house. I get to my sister's house. I'm sitting there. Then he finally shows up. So he shows up, and we just sitting on the couch. And, you know, he says to me, I remember this. It's a lot of things that I remember vividly. So he says to me, yeah, I knew about you, and I always kept tabs on you. So I'm like, okay. So you kept tabs on me. He was like, yeah, I kept tabs on you. I knew, like, what schools you was going to and what sports you was playing. Yeah, I kept tabs. I said, okay. That's nice to know. At least you thought about me, okay. So what I left out, I want to say, he also told me that he tried to get in contact with me, but my mother did not let him. Because I think I asked him, why didn't you ever try to, you know, reach out to me or find me or, you know, see about me? And he was like, I tried, but your mother wouldn't let me talk to you. And I knew that was a lie right then and there, because of the fact that I was with my mother every time she tried. Probably not every time, but I was with my mother, and we tried many of times to call him. And every time she ended up getting an argument with his wife. So that was a complete lie. And that made me really look at him like, So then he begins to tell me about his kids. You know, his other kids, the ones that he's actually taking care of. So he's like, yeah, you got a sister, you got 2 sisters and a brother. And yeah, then we adopted 2 kids. So I'm like, you adopted kids? And I'm a whole child right here, and you adopted kids? Like, okay, you kept tabs on me, but you and your wife went out and adopted 2, not one, but y'all went out and adopted 2 kids when you had a whole kid right here that you could have been taking care of. But, you know, I was just like, okay. I said, okay. So then, you know, we talked. I don't even remember what the other I don't even remember what else that was in the conversation. That is all I remember, is he had other kids and he adopted kids, and he lives with his wife and his other kids that he got with his wife and that he also adopted. So I was just like, okay, cool. At the end of the conversation, he says, I would like for you to meet your other brothers and sisters, you know, meet them. And, you know, so he was like, okay, so we're going to set it up for us to meet, you know, for you to meet them. So we set it up for me to go over their house on a Saturday. And it's still kind of fuzzy if I drove myself there or if he came to get me. I don't remember that part. But I do remember this. I get to his house, y'all, and he says to me, yeah, so I had you come on Saturday because my wife don't like you. He said, I had you come on Saturday because that was the day my wife wouldn't be home, and since she don't like you, I wanted you to come when she wasn't gonna be here. Thoughtful, but is that really something to say to your 17-year-old child that you just now meeting? So I'm like, okay. I was like, okay, I was just stuck, like, okay. So I'm like, okay, let me meet my friends. So I'm like, let me meet my siblings that I don't know. Let me meet them. So I'm going to pause the story right here because I left out something. And that is, I had recently moved. I was in the 11th grade at this time. And 9th and 10th grade, I went to a school across town. We moved to a different side of town, so I started going to a different school in the 11th grade. And this school was on, like I said, it was on another side of town, and I was living closer to him at this point. I was literally living like less than like 5 to 7 minutes away from this man at this point. With that being said, I goes in the house to meet my siblings. I find out that 2 of my sisters, well, I'm going to say one of my sister and an adopted sister. I find out that my one sister, the one that was born 2 months after me, that she was going to my school, and the adopted daughter was also going to my school. And it really effed me up because I seen them at school. And I didn't know that they were my siblings. I didn't know that they were my sisters, my blood sister that's the same age as me, going to the same school I go to this whole school year. And I had no idea that that was my sister that I'm walking past in the hallway every single day. And so I met them and we was like, oh my goodness, we go to the same school. It was just that. And then I had a little sister and a little brother. They were in, I want to say they was either in middle or elementary school. I don't remember. I'm not sure. But so I had a little sister, a little brother, and then the 2 that I actually went to school with, and then it was an older one that they're adopted, but I guess she might have moved out or something. I don't know. So I never met the other adopted sister. I just met the one adopted sister and my blood sister that was the same age as me, the little sister and the little brother. So while I am meeting them in their house, so then they proceed to tell me that my mama don't like you. She don't want us talking to you. And so that was it. So I was just like, okay. So of course, while we was there, we talked to each other, we got to know each other, and that was pretty much it. But they let it be known that they wasn't allowed to talk to me for real. But they was gonna talk to me because I was there and I was meeting them. So it was just like one smack in the face after the next. And I was just like, I can't even understand how a man would basically, I don't necessarily even want to say let his wife dictate so much of his life, but not even be a man and just stand up and take care of his responsibilities, and for let that to go on like that. I just don't even understand it. So that was that. So he was like, yeah, I'm ready to be in your life. I also forgot to say that she also tried to put him on child support a few times. And back in the day, he just quit his job. Every time she tried to put him on child support, he quit his job and he didn't have to pay, I guess. So I guess she just gave up on child support. I wish she wouldn't have gave up on child support, but she did. And that's why I didn't need him financially, because my mom made it happen. So that was that. So he was like, yeah, I'm ready to be in your life, I talked to him a couple of times on the phone after that, and he was like, yeah, I'm ready to be in your life. I'm ready to, get to know you, like, be a father, basically, how he was saying, if you need help with anything, don't hesitate to ask, and at this point, like, my mom and my family, from my mom, like my mom's sisters, my aunts and my uncles and my grandmother, like all of that side of my family, my mom was a single mother, and whatever she had to get done, it got done. Whatever she needed for us, we had. We never really struggled for anything. If we needed, like, if I ran track, I ran track, I did karate, I played soccer, I did a lot of things. And I was in the marching band, the marching band. I was a very active kid, and I was in a lot of things. So, if I needed help with any of my, anything that I was doing, I had family to step in and help my mom when she needed help, like financially or anything like that. So I never needed him for anything. And even one time when I went to what was that? A homecoming. My big sister on my dad's side, she stepped up and helped me buy some stuff that I needed, like my shoes and my jewelry. I remember she took me to get stuff I needed for homecoming. So I always, I didn't need him for anything. So when he said that to me, I was like, okay, I'm going to put him to the test, So I had a dance coming up. I think it was the Sadie Hopkins dance. We had a Sadie Hopkins dance. If anybody don't know what that is, it's basically when you go to the dance and you dress alike, like the person or the people that you go to the dance with. So I normally went, like the 2 times I did go to the Sadie Hopkins dance, it was me and like 3 other girls. We called ourselves best friends, and we got outfits made and dressed alike. And then I went one time with them, and I had this little boyfriend I went with, and we all dressed alike, and the boy kind of dressed like us or whatever. So the Sadie Hopkins dance was coming up, and I pretty much had everything I needed. My mom made sure I had everything, my outfit, everything. I didn't want or need for anything. But since he said, I'll help you, this, whatever, I put him to the test. So I called him and said, yes, I have a dance coming up, and I need some money I need some money for it. So he like, oh yeah, I got you. I'll be able to help you. So I'm like, okay, cool. So, it was right before the dance. I think the dance was maybe that week or something like that. And like I told y'all, I had everything I already needed. So he rose up to my house. He had a friend drive him. He didn't drive himself, but he was riding with some man. And he pulls up to my house. He calls me. I come outside, and he says, oh, here goes some money for you. And he had it balled up in his hand like this, right? So he had the money balled up in his hand. And when he handed me the money, he handed it to me like this. And I took it, and I kind of balled it up in my hand. Because I was like, I don't even want to look at it until I get away from him. So I went in the house. After he gave me the money, he tried to small talk. Hey, how you doing? Whatever. So I'm like, okay, I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm excited about the dance. I run in the house. He leaves. I run in the house. And I was just thinking to myself, I wonder how much money this is. And I opened up my hand. And I kid you not, it was a $5 bill. It was $5. It was $5, y'all. $5 freaking. I'm telling this man I'm going to a school dance. You know how much it costs to go to school dances. You know how much the outfits cost. If you need to get shoes, makeup, hair. You know what I'm saying? Tickets for the dance costed more than $5. This man had the audacity to give me $5. $5. So at that point, that's when I knew that was another slap in the face for me. And I was just like, I'm over it. I'm over it. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm over it. I don't care no more. Like, we can go back to how it was. Me not knowing you, me not knowing your kids, me not knowing nothing about you. You know, we can go back to that. And I was just over it, because that's one thing I really can't stand. If somebody go out their way to be like, I'm going to do this for you, I'm going to do that for you, and then when it's time for you to do it, you play me. So I was just like, that's it. I ain't got nothing else to say to him. I'm done. It's over with. So I didn't speak to him for a couple of years. It was probably about 2 years. I ain't talked to him. I ain't see him. I ain't see his kids. None of that. And I was going to Walmart in my hometown, and I was with one of my best friends at the time. And we went to Walmart. We get out the car, we walk to Walmart, and as I'm walking to Walmart, him and his whole family, his wife and all of his kids, they're walking out of Walmart. They were walking back to their car. As I'm walking in, they're walking up, and I just stop in my tracks, and I tell my friend, like, that's my father and his family. And she was like, what, for real? And I'm like, yeah. So as we were walking towards them, his wife and kids instantly was like just gave me that look, like, don't say nothing to me. Like, the kids was trained. Like, they was like, they did not even open their mouth and say hi. They didn't even say hi. Nothing. They literally just looked like they seen a ghost and kept it moving. And he was like, oh, hey, how you doing? How you doing? I was like, I'm doing good. And literally we just kept walking. I was just like, really? And that was the last time I seen that man. That was the last time I seen him. That was it. And so that was probably in 2004. No, that was probably around 2005. And then 2006 is when I moved to Cincinnati. So no, I wouldn't even say that was 2005. That had to be around 2004. In between 2004 and 2005. And then, or it could have been, yeah. It had to be that. I'm trying to remember, y'all. So I moved to Cincinnati in 2006 though. But yeah, that I haven't seen him, spoken to him since. So I did recently hear that him and his wife ended up splitting up. They got a divorce. That is the story. What I will say is, as far as my aunts go, that I told you that was really cool with my mom, they're still really good friends. I'm still in contact with my aunt to this day. She reaches out to me, we talk, I see her. The last time I seen her was in person, was maybe about 2 to 3 years ago, because it was literally right before I moved to Orlando. But like I said, we talk, I see her all the time. She's on Facebook, I'm on Facebook, so we, say stuff to each other through there. Me and my sister, my oldest sister, we always had we will talk for a long time, and then we'll stop talking just because of life. It seemed like life always got in the way. She lives in a whole nother state than I do, and we'll talk, and then I won't talk to her for a while, and then we'll talk again after a while, and it always been kind of like that. No bad blood or nothing like that would keep us from talking. It would just literally be life. But we just recently connected. Like, we was connected because we followed each other on social media, of course. But as far as actually talking, we wasn't talking. We was just saying stuff to each other on social media until when I went home to visit, and when was that I just recently went home? October? Yeah, in October I went to Youngstown to see my family, and when I went there, she seen that I was there, and she was like, oh my goodness, you're here, I'm here, we need to link up, I haven't seen you in years and I want to see you. So that we actually connected, and we have been talking, and we told each other we wasn't going to let each other like go so long without talking to each other. But yeah, so that's the story of my biological father's side of the family. I will continue to keep in contact with my aunt and my sister. I want to have a really close relationship with my sister, and I feel like we have that. We are, you know what I'm saying, we're working towards it. We just have to keep in touch with each other. So that is what we are doing. But yeah, so that is the story, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, that story hurts my heart, and I literally prayed to God to help me forgive this man. And it's a quote that says, you have to forgive people even when they don't deserve to be forgiven, because
you're not doing it for them, you are doing it for you.
But I just don't understand how a man can walk away from his family, not even your family, but walk away from your child. I'm not gonna say family, because him and my mom wasn't never a family. But for you to walk away from your child and then take care of, adopt, for you to walk away from your child and then turn around and adopt other kids and not take care of your kid, that is a level of, I just don't even know how to even express that. But that is so hurtful to me. Just that whole scenario, everything about him was just so hurtful. Me not even knowing my grandfather. The whole time I knew my grandfather, but I didn't know him. I didn't know he was my grandfather. That was hurtful. For this man to tell a child at 17 that I want you to come to my house, but I don't want you to come, but you only can come when my wife is gone because she don't like you, that's hurtful. It still hurts my feelings to this day. I'm trying not to even have tears in my eyes because it don't deserve my tears. But I just can't imagine doing something like that to my child. I can't even imagine. I just can't even imagine that. Like, I just don't even understand how you can do that to your kids. But I get it. There's people out there in this world that's like that. And that's what they do. But yeah, so I have nothing to say to this man. I don't want to, like Kiki Palmer said, I don't know that man. I don't know who this man is. I feel sorry for that man. If I was to see that man walking down the street today, I wouldn't know who he is. And I'm not trying to know him. Like, for real. I am good. I am totally good. I'm totally fine. And I'm happy. I'm actually happy and thankful that he was not a part of my life, because I feel like I turned out better. I feel like I had a better life without him. I feel like his only purpose was to help my mom make me, and that was it. And I truly believe that that's all I needed him for me to be on this earth. But other than that, I don't want anything to do with him ever. But I have asked God, I have prayed, let me forgive him for me so I can move on. And I feel like I have moved on, but I have not forgotten, and it still hurts a little. I don't think somebody can ever get over something like that. That is very, 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 very traumatizing to go through, and it's very, it's really disrespectful as hell. But yeah, so I hope you guys like the story time, and if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments. I'll do another video answering all of your questions about this story time. But yeah, it was deep. It still is deep, and I don't even know if I left anything out, because it's such a long story, and it happened over years. Like, it happened over a course of my whole life. I remember my youngest memory was at 3 all the way up until I was about 17, 18. And this is how long that stretched out. So, yeah, it's good. Y'all, yeah. So, I debated about if I even wanted to share the story. But I'm 34 years old. I can tell my story. You know what I'm saying? And I don't care who has anything to say about it. I do know that my other siblings, they do follow me on Facebook. I don't know how much they see what I post. But I do know that they was following me at a point. I don't know if they still follow me or not. I have no idea, but I know they was. So, I don't know. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. And I hope that you guys, I guess enjoyed my story time. And if you have not subscribed, go ahead and make sure you hit that subscribe button and give me those thumbs up. And leave some more suggestions for some story times. Like I said, leave some comments about some questions. Whatever questions that you have, I will go ahead and answer them, because I'm pretty sure I might have left some stuff out trying to remember every detail of this story. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, y'all.